Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Shaun, and I'm here with my faithful co-host, Dan. Say hello, Dan. And welcome to Zoobox Goes to the Movies. We're going to be doing our first themed month, all month long. Doing nothing but talking about Dan's. He has an avowed hatred for the series, he says. But we're going to see if he changes his mind over the, excuse me, over the course of the month. And if you hear me wheezing and coughing and stuff, it's because I am deathly ill, and I apologize. I'll do my best to mitigate the death.
And I'm balding, so no one feels bad for you. Move on.
You think you got problems, buddy?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're going into these movies completely with like a sincere eye. And what I mean by that is we're actually going to see like, all right, what do we actually think about Star Wars movies? Because, you know, if you're a nerd, you kind of just, a lot of nerds just assume they like Star Wars because it's Star Wars, because it's a staple. That's kind of Dan's main talking point. He's like,
my main talking point is nostalgia is the reason why these do so well.
That's what I'm saying. Nostalgia. I just said nostalgia by another name. You get into these semantic debates with me.
Hey, just like the Game Changer debate yesterday.
Yeah.
We'll get into that after. Okay.
We'll talk about that another day, maybe on the podcast. But anyways, yeah. So the way we're gonna do this, the first episode we're gonna talk about. These are all gonna be spoilers. We're not gonna be holding back anything. We're gonna be jumping all over the place. So if you've never seen Star Wars, I don't know why you're listening to this in the first place.
Yep.
But first episode prequels. Second episode we're gonna do original trilogy. Third episode we're gonna do the new one, all the new movies basically. I think that's what we're gonna do, right?
Well, the way I viewed it is that we were going to do the first two new ones and then do the new one. You know, like the last episode will be...
Or do you want to include Rogue One and Solo in this adventure? Or are we only doing the Skywalker saga?
That could happen. I got a lot of time on my hands.
Just because the third episode we only have two movies to talk about, and we're probably going to mostly talk about one of those two movies.
But that's what I'm saying. So why leave that one for itself?
Well, we have a little extra time, though. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll play it by ear.
Yeah.
I've been watching the way I've been watching them. I've basically watched the prequels, and then I already watched Rogue One and Solo.
Okay, I haven't watched Rogue One, I've seen most of Rogue One. I got so bored in Solo. Another travesty.
So we'll wait. We'll push all that stuff kind of towards the end of the month.
Okay.
See if we're even gonna. We'll probably briefly mention them. There's actually not a lot to say about them.
There really isn't.
But yeah, so we're gonna get into the prequels, and I guess we're gonna.
Do you want to be the defending of Star Wars? I'm going to be the opposition. Is this what's happening?
It's not a debate, sir. It's a conversation.
I'm going to tell you right now, there is no debate. There is only my view. I feel like I look like a shitty version of George Lucas right now.
Just crazed.
No, right? Just the way I physically, my physical.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes, you look crazed.
Get him, Lucas.
Lucas, come.
Yeah.
It's like great South Park episode.
Oh, yeah, that's so good.
I can't believe they got away with that. They had George Lucas and Steven Spielberg recreating all the famous rape scenes from movies. I can't remember the name of the episode, but it's a great episode.
It's like they get screwed or they get fucked by something.
It's like the despecialized or special edition something or other. It's talking. It's all about how they go in and tinker with their movies years after the fact.
Yeah.
But so this is the first time you'd probably watch these in quite some time, especially the prequels, right?
I would say there was probably in 2015 Christmas. I watched all of them. This obviously before the new movies came out, so we watched all of them in one day at work.
Okay.
Because we got paid to do that. Yeah, and I remember sitting there going, "This is the worst day of my life." And in that same movie we were watching it, someone had already committed suicide. I thought it was going to be the next one, so I was like, "Oh my god!" Nah, I mean, yeah, it's been a few years. But I watched all of them in a row from episode 1 through 6.
That's pretty rough. That is rough.
It's
That's
a
lot of stuff.
long fucking day, dude.
But that's what I'm
It's-
saying. It kind of almost like it's gonna make you retroactively dislike the later ones because you're just sick of it. You're just like, I'm just sick of watching Star Wars shit.
Well, I have my own criticisms of the connection between the two series, between episodes 1 through 3 and 4 and 6. I have my own criticisms as to why I don't. It ruins the series. But
how they flow.
They're just. All right, let's not get into that because we're talking about let's get into episode 1, 2, and 3, and then we can talk into the connection.
Let's talk about Phantom Menace. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Which I used to think was the worst of the new ones, but it's
actually probably the best one.
It's one of the better. I would say it's probably the best paced one, and it's got Liam Neeson in it with his big dick swinging it around, and it was awesome. And
it still feels like a movie. You can tell they were on like real sets and like they were outside.
Yeah,
yeah, like.
They went overboard with the CGI and the next two, but this stuff was. I have such a hard time watching because I don't know if it's because I know Liam Neeson's a good actor. I absolutely know he is a good. He's not great, but he can do what he's got to do. He gets it done every time. Ewan McGregor probably just had made Trainspotting maybe only a couple years before that. Fantastic film. He has the range. Why the fuck? Natalie Portman from Leon the Professional. She has range, even though she was like 12 when that movie came out or whatever. They feel so stiff. Everyone feels so stiff and cold, and it's weird.
I think you're experiencing like what it's like to watch a movie with a bad director.
That's what I'm saying. Like I know that they can act. And it bothers me how bad they are in these movies.
I would say they fare the best. I would say like Ewan McGregor out of all the prequel actors, him and Ian McDiarmid, the guy who plays Emperor Palpatine. But he's in Phantom Menace. He's in Phantom Menace. He's just the senator.
Oh my god, no! It's so poorly constructed.
It's not poorly. That's where we're gonna disagree. Where you say it's poorly constructed.
No, dude, George Lucas is fumble fucking his way through these movies. I don't care what anyone says. He is fumble fucking. He's like, I guess this will work.
In what way do you mean that though? Like, because I feel like I
would have to talk more about the later ones, but just with the Phantom Menace alone, is that we have to have this deep explanation of where Anakin came from. It's too long. I think the whole entire premise of him being young and that way is completely moot point. It's stupid. I don't enjoy that character development from the child aspect because that could have been a 30-minute scene, 25-minute scene where they get the kid, whatever happens. I don't know. They could have maybe written it better, but the whole class system slave thing, it never talked about. The Jedi are just like cool with it. They don't give a fuck. Cold as fuck. Leave his mom on the planet. Like, where's the respect for the balance of the Force and all this bullshit that they talk about? Like, they just don't give a shit about anyone but Anakin.
Well, they don't.
It's the only thing that matters in that movie.
Abuse their position, right? Because that's going into a different culture.
Qui-Gon puts
the
a
police of the
fucking
galaxy.
child in a deadly race, Shaun.
No, but he's been in the race before, hasn't he?
He has, but he's just like, I'm willing to risk this fucking kid's life. Dude, that's fucking crazy.
Listen, either you fucking play hard or you go home.
But it's literally doing the same thing that in the new movies with the Lucy Liu or Looky Liu, whatever that's just called.
Mary Sue, thank you. Not Lucy Liu, she's National Treasure. Ray. But it's like there's no sense of real discovery with the character. So he just is okay. He has this like connection to the Force, the midichlorians, and they have to have that 2-minute explanation. That's the big controversial thing that they introduced in these prequels was the idea, the concept of midichlorians, which is almost in a weird sideways way kind of saying like, oh, they're like the master race. People made that joke. because you're
Yes.
taking the mysticism out of the Force and you're making it a literal thing where it's about midichlorian counts, like something in your blood that you can actually measure to see whether or not you're going to be Force sensitive.
Because the original series is so poorly written.
No.
No, listen, is so poorly written that they have to go backtrack because they have to go. Well, we can't just say this kid. How do they discover Anakin? They
Because
have to discover him.
It's just magic.
How
That's
do
all
they?
it is.
No, because they raise these kids they raise them from children, and even Anakin's a little too old. They're like, well, how are we supposed to take advantage of him, groom this kid to become our sex?
Yeah, but you could just, I mean, if they wanted to, they didn't have to go some like literal routes. They could just say, oh, on our travels we find kids with high midichlorian counts, and we say that we will take them under our guard.
Irregardless, the entire premise of the movie, and this is what's wrong with all three movies, it's just getting to episode 4. That's all it is. We need to get there. So when you're going through the first film, you already know who Anakin is. So you already know the character arc. There's no surprises. There's no wonder. And it's disappointing because they could have made Anakin a way more interesting character than just being he is going to be bad. Because they're talking about that like, well, we can't train him as a Jedi because I got this feeling that this kid is so powerful he's going to be a piece of shit. What happens if he turns to the dark side? Which probably would have just like fixed the entire plot line, I guess. I don't know, because it's all Greek mythology and all this weird stuff where there has to be a balance in nature, which is really what the whole thing is about.
It's very heavily influenced by there's a writer, Joseph Campbell, and he has the hero's myth.
Okay.
And it's about how you structure just like a heroic character. And so you have Luke Skywalker, which kind of follows the traditional hero's journey, and then you have Anakin, who kind of gets his hero's journey fucked with, and you're supposed to kind of see the repercussions of that. So basically, there's actually an interesting core at the idea, because I would agree with you, all prequels have this problem where it's like, well, you already know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen at the end of this trilogy, because we're watching Anakin's arc over 3 movies.
Now, do you think you should watch them in sequential order, or would you rather if you were going to show, when you show Foster, he's old enough to understand your son, you show him, are you going to show him 4 through 6 so he gets that great reveal?
Yeah, I would watch him. I would have him watch the older ones first, just because I think they're just better movies, and why introduce him with the best that the series has to offer.
Do you know you should start out with Rogue One, then go to Episode 4?
No, thank you.
Right? No, because that makes sense. Isn't that in the order?
Well, that would be in order. But anyway,
but at least you get to see Darth Vader, you get a little introduction, and it's
but the way they use Darth Vader in Rogue One is one of my biggest criticisms.
I don't know. I've never seen the scene, honestly.
It's just gross. It's just gross fan service. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
But no, what I'm saying is there's something interesting in the idea that you're watching as many bad decisions as Anakin makes. A lot of people make bad decisions for him when he's a child. They kind of push him towards this thing, just like the whole idea, like, well, he really shouldn't be doing this.
Doing what?
Training to be a Jedi in the first place. He's got his emotion. He's too emotional. He's got too many psychological problems, basically, and he's kind of pushed into it because of some misplaced loyalty by Obi-Wan, because he wants to do it to honor Qui-Gon's wishes.
Yeah, and
but you're watching all of these other factors, or him falling in love, and then it having to be kind of a weird secret thing that also kind of affects him. There's just all these layers of things that happen that are outside of his decision-making rubric, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm not saying the movies actually do a good job of presenting this, but I do think that is what is the subtext there. I do think there's something interesting there, and about how government and politics and how political the Jedi are and how they've become corrupted and arrogant. And there's a lot of there's a lot of interesting things going on there. It actually, at the time, it drew kind of a parallel between George Bush. It was drawing a parallel with George W. Bush. If you watch the arc of the Emperor and him taking control of the Senate and stuff.
Well, so
there's interesting things there in kind of mediocre movies.
Well, Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're okay. So what I'm saying is that I don't think that they're as dumb and as thoughtless maybe as they seem they are. Because I agree with you. I would agree with you. Like, the filmmaking is seriously lacking.
Well,
George
hold
Lucas
on.
is not a good director.
I'll say this much: the cinematography, all that stuff is not bad. It's pretty average. A lot of just panning left, right.
Yeah,
Nothing like
it's
nothing.
boring.
It
It's
is
boring.
but it's not atrocious. It's not awful. It's clinical.
It's like TV shows. It's like watching a
It's
TV
cold.
show that has to be made really fast.
Pretty much. Well, it's very cold. It's very clinical. It's just very, very simple. There's nothing that's going. Because when I watch even a movie like we watched recently, The Irishman, when we watch that, the movie itself is very simply shot, but it serves the story in a way that is perfect. Because as the viewer, we're watching it from this outside perspective. So we're kind of watching the characters go through the story. When you're watching Star Wars, you are a character yourself. That's what I feel. Now, you are actually there in the moment with these characters.
Yeah,
That's what they're supposed to represent.
Yeah, you're meant to identify with the main hero.
Right. Well, there is no hero. That's all.
Anakin's your main person you're supposed to empathize with.
Yeah, but they do a terrible job at getting it because they have this fucking kid from Jingle All the Way, which is, I feel bad for him because it basically destroyed his life. Yeah. Same thing with the guy who played anyone who played Anakin for some reason. They say it's cursed, Well, stop hiring fucking shitty dudes to act in these movies.
Well, no, but that's the thing. I don't think it's their fault. I think that George Lucas is such an awful director.
There's that. Yeah.
Some actors just need more direction, and they're fine. Like Hayden Christensen has been in other things and has been fine.
It's not. I understand, but I really do feel like there was if you actually read, do you know how George Lucas came up with the ideas of episodes 1 through 3? Do you know what happened?
You'd have to refresh my memory. I'm not sure.
I can't remember the original. So he wrote and directed A New Hope. It's the only one he directed, I think.
Yes.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
So he wrote and directed it, which is not the worst Star Wars movie, but not the best of the original 3. So what they did is the whoever the producers were or whatever brought in the company. They brought in a good scriptwriter because the script was a little, it was all right. It was kind of cheesy. It wasn't very well written. So they bring in this really Academy Award winning guy, right? This famous dude in Hollywood. He comes in and he writes the script. Robert someone or other. So he comes in and he writes the script. And in the original script for Empire Strikes Back, which was not, I don't believe was the original title, but he, in the original script, Obi-Wan tells Luke that Darth Vader is his father. Okay, that's the original, the script that was presented. But the guy who wrote the original script died. Okay? So George Lucas went in and rewrote the script and rewrote things. What?
Okay, Lawrence Kasdan wrote the script for Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, it was the second one. That's the one where he finds out. Yeah, that dude. There was another guy. No, there is another dude involved in there. I swear to God. You got to look it up.
Yeah, there's a guy, but he wasn't involved for very long. It was
because he died. He died. One of the dudes who was working on the original script and the first one was written, the first draft, he died. I swear to God, I just watched this whole thing about. Hold on. So George Lucas then decided when he wrote into the script, in the whatever draft this was, decided that Luke was going to be told by Darth Vader. It was going to be this epic ending to the story, the big shock value, and it was great idea. That's when he decided to name it because when A New Hope came out, it was not Episode 4. It was only after Empire Strikes Back that it became Episode 4 or 5 and then 6.
Well, you know why?
Why? Because they didn't know.
No, but he wrote a 350-page treatment or script that actually was all 3 stories, and then he didn't think he was going to get the other 2 made, so that's why the Death Star is at the end of A New Hope.
Right.
Because he condensed them, basically.
Okay, that made sense.
He cut all the stuff with the Emperor out. And he just bare essentials, and then he put the ending of the trilogy actually at the end of the first movie. That's why Return of the Jedi has a problem where they have literally something called the Death Star 2.
Yeah.
Being built, and they have to stop it from being built.
Which is really great. Really great. But there was But that whole idea came later, and that wasn't his initial intent.
But it's also a reference to what he's riffing on, which are the Flash Gordon serials, and kind of the same way Indiana Jones is riffing on serials from the 30s. These things that you would watch before your movie would start, these little shorts, and they would be episodic, and every week there would be a new episode.
Sure, but that probably didn't come in. I don't think Star Wars' initial intention was, like you said, he didn't know if it was going to get made, so he just kind of put it all together in one movie.
Well, he didn't know if it was going to be a success.
I mean, dude, the guy's worth $6.4 billion.
I mean, it was literally just called Star Wars.
It worked. It worked, for sure. But there is a huge disparity when you watch something that is... George Lucas did not only write the script for the next two movies. I think he mainly wrote the third, or episode 6, if I remember correctly.
There was, I guess, there's a lot of like controversy over who directed it, because apparently the guy they hired had a really hard time with the special effects. So I think George Lucas like shadow directed a lot of Return of the Jedi, especially all the stuff with the Ewoks and like the battle down there on Endor. We'll talk about that when we talk about the original trilogy.
Oh god, it kills me. But anyway, so like the idea didn't come until later. That was my main point. But my main point is the idea didn't come later. So when he goes back to reshoot these movies, and he takes charge because George Lucas became very egotistical. He became very much like the Jedi, I guess you could say. It's very parallel, I guess is the word I'm thinking of, to real life and into the story. That he didn't want to give up any sense of control. No one, and he owned Lucasfilms, and he just kind of drove them into the ground where we have to set stages. Each movie is a stage in development for Anakin only, and for the progression of the things that are happening outside to get... Basically, all they're doing is setting up the Empire and Anakin going to work for the Empire. That's all they're doing. And then obviously having Leia and Luke be born. And then Padme has to die. So they have to make those three things connect. And when you go back and watch when I just watched the last movie, because Attack of the Clones, honestly, nothing really happens for the sake of story except the clone army. That is the most important thing that happens.
Yeah.
And then Anakin loses his arm.
This is the problem with having kind of bad scripts and a bad director, is that you can't make these characters likable. Like, I don't enjoy being around them. If I liked these characters, I wouldn't care that not a lot happens. I mean, if you watch Empire Strikes Back, not a lot happens. It's the same, but you enjoy the characters, you enjoy the actors, you enjoy, like, the world.
But Empire Strikes Back, the script was better written, I think.
Obviously, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And then they had a different director. It wasn't...
Yeah,
so there was
Kirshner.
I think it was way better, but we'll talk about that later. But so I just watched Revenge of the Sith. I literally just finished it late last night because I knew we were doing this today. And it makes no sense. And it's literally just pushing the final stage, the final development that you have to do for episode 4, which I understand, but the way they do it is so rushed. It's so fumblefucky. None of it makes sense. Like, they have to separate Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin to have Anakin go, because that was the only thing that was holding Anakin to the...
Yeah, but they do that in the second one, too. They have like, separate stories going on.
No, it's not even the separate... I'm saying they just have to do that to push the story. They have to push it.
They have to push what?
That Anakin goes bad, but if Obi-Wan is still there, then he's going to be able to kind of be like, hey, do, because he's the only one that Anakin even really trusts. Because there's so much distrust within the council and Anakin that he doesn't really trust him. Because I'm watching this, and I just go like, so when Mace Windu goes up and fucking Samuel L. Jackson, in one of the cheesiest fucking lines, unlimited power, like, it's so stupid. But when there is... And he's like, oh, Anakin, help me. And you're like, oh my god. And acting, he literally turned into Dracula. Yeah. That's who Palpatine turns into, right? He looks like Dracula from, what's that? Well, Dracula, the one with...
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, by Francis Ford Coppola. He looks just like him. But I'm watching it, and I'm just going, okay, so now this is the point where he accepts the fact, which happens very quickly. He goes from being, I'm conflicted, to I'm going to go fucking murder children.
Well,
in the span of like a second.
Yeah, but you're not giving credit where it's due in terms of like how that is set up to happen. It's set up to happen because everybody's ignoring him when he's clearly having problems. He's having these visions. He's feeling unwell. People are kind of like, you're fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it. We'll deal with it later. You're fine. Everybody's doing that to him. And the only person that doesn't is who ends up being, the Palpatine. He's the only one that gives him the time of day. And not only that, but says, like, listen, I can actually help you with, like, conquer your fear. This thing that's been... I'm not saying, like, it is executed super well, but it's there. It is there. I would agree with you, like, that turn is a little weird. But the problem with, I would say, the turn is because they are mixing politics with this Jedi thing at the same time. Yeah. So Anakin thinks in some weird way he's being, like, loyal to the Senate. Because the Jedi...
That's what he thinks.
Yeah, to the Republic, because the Jedi are being draconian, which they are. The Jedi have also fucked up. They're overreaching.
Well, they also let the fear get to them, which is what they're not, and their ego and the fear because they got. Well, because
so that stuff is there. It's just not presented very well. But if you really start thinking about it, you're like, okay, it does make a little bit more sense.
So Yoda comes back, to fucking confront Palpatine, whatever, and he force smashes those dudes into a wall when he walks through the door, and I'm like, okay, he's super strong. We get it.
Yoda's the best, man.
But they have this duel.
Seen Baby Yoda?
It's adorable. But when he heads into they have this little duel in his office, and then they go into the Senate and they have all these things. They're throwing all this.
The dumbest scenes in the movie.
But this is why it's really dumb from a story perspective and a character arc perspective for Yoda. So Yoda doesn't necessarily get his ass beaten, but he gets kind of fucked up.
He does.
No, it's weird because this shit pisses me off about Star Wars, okay? This shit just irritates the living fuck out of me. So these dudes can move shit. Like, Yoda couldn't stop himself from hitting the ground. He couldn't just use the Force to just kind of slow himself, because I see these motherfuckers jump from 60, 70 feet and land like on pillows.
They're prepared for it, though. Like, they're thinking about it.
Yoda knew he was going to fall. Yoda's like holding on. Come on. And then he hits the ground, and he leaves his lightsaber, which is like fucking 2 feet from him, and he goes, I'm going to crawl through this little hole, not take my lightsaber. Then he goes in, and that's when they have the fucking other Senate dudes like, oh, dude, turn on your homing beacon, and I'll fucking come get you. He gets in the thing, he turns on his homing beacon, opens up a capsule, the dude's magically there, and he drops in, and he goes, hey, I fucked up, so I have to be exiled. That is it. That's how Yoda gets to the planet.
Yeah, Yoda's actually being kind of a piece of shit, because he's like, it's over, guys. I'll see you later.
Well, because
it was nice knowing you.
Yeah, I was just like, what the fuck? They literally just go.
The dumbest thing in that whole thing is when he talks to Chewbacca. Because why the fuck is Chewbacca in this fucking movie? It's so stupid.
And it's for 1 second, really. I love
you, Chewbacca.
And that's the fan favorite nostalgia shit. That is the worst thing about fucking these series, is that you look back.
Hey, listen, the prequels, there's not a ton of fan service. Not a ton.
There's not a lot. I mean, George Lucas said fuck you and made the whole reason that the Empire basically happened is because of Jar Jar Binks. It's hilarious.
I've seen that video, I think.
Yeah, but it is funny because everyone hated him. He's like, I'm gonna fucking make him powerful, and I'm gonna make this shit. I'm gonna make him like a really important central figure to this story, because he's the reason that the Chancellor gets.
Oh yeah, dude, George Lucas is the shadiest motherfucker. He's like, oh, okay, kids.
No, he's a real nerd. He's a troll. Nerds love to troll.
I mean, he trolls in real life too. Because when he wanted to do something on his property.
Yeah.
He lives up in the hills in California. It was a beautiful area. And he wanted to do something with his property, but the other people in the town voted him down. Yeah. Wouldn't let him do it. Yeah. So then he started proposing bills to put in tons of low income housing that he was going to build himself all over the area.
Just to piss everyone off.
Just to piss people off. Just because he can. He's got fuck you money for days, buddy.
Oh, dude. Could you imagine if you had that kind of money, dude?
Imagine being that rich. He's like, I could really help a lot of people just to fuck with other people.
And he did it on a mediocre fucking average story.
my God, Dan.
Dude,
just
I'm
like,
sorry,
but
dude.
you have grown up in the wake of Star Wars existing, so everything that you've enjoyed probably owes a debt of gratitude to Star Wars.
I'm not arguing that Star Wars didn't play some pinnacle role in like cinema and science fiction or fantasy.
You gotta judge it appropriately, my man.
I can judge it, but I'm not looking through the lens of me being an 8-year-old. And I tried watching these movies like if I was a kid, because these are definitely more tailored to young adults or young teens and children.
Oh, for sure.
I remember enjoying it, dude. I had the Star Wars action figures because
I would imagine though they'd be kind of boring.
If they were, I remember not really caring for them too much. But episode 4, 5, and 6 was those were my first introduction. Yeah, I remember watching those movies, so like I remember the moment that Darth Vader. I remember being a kid, being like, "Oh, that's insane."
Well, like it's interesting because Ryan basically grew up with the prequels. Like as a child, like he grew up with them coming out, and he has a way stronger affinity for them than either you or I have.
Well, it's just, and I understand that nostalgia plays a part in everything, and in anything that we do. And I have no qualms with people who like Star Wars because they grew up loving Star Wars.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I think, but you can be objective. You can say like, yeah, I'm partially colored by nostalgia, my like for this thing. I can be objective enough to know that there's tons of movies that I would never like go out of my way to defend from my youth or whatever.
I can't help that you know, when I was a kid that you showed me a lot of great movies. That's right. Like you did. No, you did. My taste in movies is probably more documentaries I kind of discovered on my own, I would say, but we've always shared documentaries. But my taste in movies is probably more dictated because I was shown Blade Runner when I was a kid. You know, Goodfellas and all these great films coming up.
Well, because you were watching them the same. Like I was seeing them for the first time, and you were just there.
Right. I just happened to be a kid, you know. And
you're a kid, and I used to buy movies like crazy. So.
And so my nostalgia comes from not Star Wars, so it's harder for me to sit there.
I understand.
You know, I don't remember watching Star Wars being like, yo, dude, I got to get to bed. I want the sheets. I didn't give a shit. I had the toys because toys were sick. I just didn't. The toys looked cool to me. You know, you could create your own little storylines and little things. But I remember hating Anakin when I was a kid. I'm like, this kid sucks, dude. I would have made fun of him. I would have been part of the problem. I guarantee you.
See, I remember watching them as a teenager, and I think I was a senior or maybe I was a junior.
No way.
When the last one came out. But I remember just having that weird moment, like that weird denial. Like everybody thought Revenge of the Sith was awesome because it was just better than the other two.
Yeah, and
so we all were just like, dude, Revenge of the Sith was great. I saw Revenge of the Sith like 4 times in the theater.
Wow, that's crazy. I got in the theater, I think more than once.
See, I got caught up in a weird, like, turn, just a weird whirlwind when I went to see it by myself. By myself, opening night at like 1 a.m. Just on a whim, I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go. So I went to go see it then. Then I saw it the next day with Paul, my friend Paul. Yeah. And I saw it the day after that with my friend Shaun Ryder. And then later that night, my friend Shaun Ryder and our other friend who came into town on the train was like, yo, let's go see Star Wars.
And you're like, fuck it, dude.
Fuck it, dude. We're going to go see Star Wars again.
The best thing about episode 3 is there's like a 40-minute, 35-minute battle between Palpatine, Yoda, and then at the same time you have the battle between Anakin and that is the one thing I can honestly say about these films is that the lightsaber battles and the races and all the chase scenes are so well done. I actually get to enjoy those scenes.
I would say, like, just to go back to episode 1, like, I think the pod race is pretty good.
It was awesome. You know, besides the
it actually holds up.
Terrible
it holds up really well.
No, it's great
as a 10-minute scene, like in a vacuum. Like, it's super well put together.
Well, the pacing is really... I think if George Lucas had a hand in that, then I would say, yeah, that's what he's good at, is those high action scenes. It's really compelling. There's a lot of fun. I would say Revenge of the Sith, episode 3, gets a little long. You're kind of like, okay, dude, they've been fighting forever.
Well, I think the Revenge of the Sith one, specifically the Obi-Wan and Anakin fight, gets so fucking stupid by the end because they're like jumping around on lava platforms, and you're like, this is like a video game now.
But and that's literally I thought that, but I was like, this is like a level in a video game when you got to beat the fucking guy. Like, it's wild.
But it's literally should have been a small, intimate, like gritty fight about these two brothers.
That wasn't the style though. Then that was.
I know, but it would have been more appropriate to have it be like this hardcore kind of smaller area. Don't have to go on like jumping on top of crumbling artifices. Like it's just ridiculous.
Well, they had to set it up somehow, I guess, where he gets burned and everything. So the lava world, I guess. I don't know. So when I was home, my friend Silly Man, which you know who that is, Silly Man, he is absolutely this. You want to talk about a fan? A fanatic. This dude will only watch Star Wars theory stuff on YouTube. And Key and Peele. That is it.
That's his whole life.
Dude. I feel so bad for his girlfriend because he's like logged on the TV, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's only her account, and it's just Star Wars. We were sitting there, and he goes, "Hey man, do you want to learn about how Count Dooku took care of Boba Fett's kid or some shit?" I was like, "Sure." 25-minute video explaining how, and you're just like, okay, it's just wild.
You loved every second of it, Dan.
Well, I was like, okay, it's somewhat interesting, but I'm like, this is like, who the fuck makes this shit up? Because there is no way George Lucas approved everything.
Well, because I was not really into Star Wars to this degree, so I never got into the books or the extended universe canon stuff. But there's actually pretty like detailed shit about all of these things, all of the stuff in the periphery, all these tangential parts of these movies. There's like whole books about characters that you see for 5 seconds in these movies.
And to be honest, you know what they should have done? Attack of the Clones should have not been about Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones should have been all about executing Order 66. That would have been a way more interesting movie, I think. Or because the third movie, it's only like a 20-minute period where executing, or probably like the last hour is the executing of Order 66, but that would have made a way more compelling movie where Jedi are on the run and they're doing whatever, and then Anakin is on the run with them. That would have made it cooler. Anakin's hunting them. That would have been way cooler of an overall movie to actually lead him down the dark side. Let's say that there was some sort of separatist within it's just, I don't know, man. I have such a hard time watching these movies and saying that is a good choice because it's only to push narrative to 4, 5, and 6. And it feels like that the entire time. There's nothing necessarily original about it. And then when you go to episode 4, which I have failed to get to, which I will get to soon, I'm already I'm going to have problems because at least it feels like Star Wars. That's the only thing I can say.
But they're fundamentally different though. Like episodes 4, 5, and 6, they're fundamentally different. Like, and I would say that the filmmaking kind of arithmetic is way different in 1974 or 77, whenever it came out.
Yeah.
Than it was in 1999 or 2000s. Like, it's just they feel like real movies.
Yeah.
They feel like real movies.
And the CGI is so annoying in the new ones.
Yeah, and it's just overload. It's like somebody vomited
everything,
every frame. It gets really bad. Like, Revenge of the Sith is like 2.5 hours long. That movie could straight up be 90 minutes. It could straight up be a 90-minute movie. Dude. You could cut out everything with General Grievous.
I feel like
cut all that shit out.
Now, back then, that was not considered lazy, though, was it? CGI?
What?
That was a lot of work.
Well, that was cutting edge, dude. I mean, it's cutting edge even today.
No.
It's cutting edge. It's cutting edge in the sense of, like, George Lucas just fucking lazy. He's famously lazy. I love the best takedowns of these movies is the Red Letter Media takedowns. If you've never watched them, they are intensely entertaining, and they go through every single thing you could possibly have a problem with. But they get into the broader stuff too, just about George Lucas as a person, and you could just see he just does not care anymore. Well, he wants to be able to go to a set with his Starbucks, sit behind a monitor in a room that is just nothing but a giant green screen, and say action. That's all he wants to do. And then he wants actors to hit say their lines, and hit their marks.
And he's like, yeah, check the gate. We're good. Move on.
We're good.
Peter Jackson. But them.
I mean, I'm sorry, what?
No, I was just going to say that the only thing I could say that they maybe handled somewhat correctly, besides the fact that Padme is practically a pedophile, the love story between the two, Padme and them, at least that was probably the most compelling part, if anything, to me. When I watch it, I'm like, okay, they kind of handled that right. Attack of the Clones is basically them just kind of building their love, and and then they have that secret marriage and all that crazy shit. I would say that's the only thing maybe the movies do well, is that story arc. At least you feel like he actually loves Padme. He actually loves Padme. Yeah, there is a sense of that.
I guess I would kind of disagree in terms of being that's what the movie does well. I think the thing that the movie does well
in Attack of the Clones, that's the only thing that they do right.
No, see, I think that the table setting for the political intrigue stuff is actually done way better than most of everything else in the movie.
Okay, that's fair.
I would say just because it doesn't have to be emotional, it doesn't have to draw me in, and it's just all nuts and bolts technical stuff, and I think it actually achieves it fairly well. Like by the end of Revenge of the Sith, like I understand what is going on. I understand how Palpatine has manipulated everyone to think that the Jedi and the Jedi have been complicit in like kind of power overreaches and stuff.
And the Senate has no idea that he's turned into some sort of fucking vagina monster. Like, no one notices. No one says anything. He's like, yeah! I would tell you, I know Ian McDiarmid is like a great actor, but dude, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, but he's just got attacked by the Jedi. He has the scars.
Yeah, dude, I just love, like, it's so cheesy and weird. It's so fucking, it's actually awesome how bad it is. That whole scene with Mace Windu is so awesome and how bad it is.
Oh, there's so many great, unintentionally funny moments in the entire prequel.
Unlimited power. I don't know if I'll ever get over that scene when he's like, ah! And he's just like shooting like he turns into almost like this hissing snake or something. Yeah. And then his voice and his octave range changes. He's got this dual voice thing once he becomes, I guess what you could say, the full-fledged form of Darth Sidious, like his actual representation. And they never really I don't understand why he turns into this monster. It's just weird. He just, he's fighting with Mace Windu standing there for 12 minutes just holding the electricity. Like, you're just like, okay, dude. And his body changes. It's just an interesting thing. I guess, but overall, if I had to give for my rating of episode 1, I would give episode 1 like a 6.5.
somewhere in there.
6 to 6.5, somewhere in that range, because at least it's on real sets. It's interesting. You can tell there was a love there. There was a real love I felt in the first one.
It does feel like a movie.
Yeah.
Where the other ones feel more like what Martin Scorsese would call like amusement park rides. Yeah,
that's a good way. What's your rating for episode 1?
I would agree. It's like a 6.5. I mean, it depends on what mood I'm in. Like sometimes I watch episode 1, I'm like, fuck this movie, and other times I'm like, this is so bad.
So I mean, but that's how you just know it's a 6. It's like average. It's average film, because if I say, hey, you want to watch Wolf of Wall Street, and it's been a while, you're gonna love it every time. I don't care what mood you're in. Yeah, you can be mad. You know what I mean? So episode 2, Attack of the Clones, I'll give that a 4.5. 4.5. It's just getting by on that is Star Wars at that point. What about you?
Yeah, I would say I would agree. I'd probably give it a 4. Solid.
Yeah, it's
by far the worst one. It's actually it's a boring movie.
And Revenge of the Sith, I'll have to give it a 6. Like, it's just around that 5.5, 6. It's not it is what it is.
I will give it a 7 because I do think that it is. He does it, as best as that prequel trilogy was going to. He sticks the landing as best as you could with what he had set up for himself. Maybe that's a weird thing to say, but I think he achieves his goal, and he sets up the fall of Anakin Skywalker and executes on it. So I'll give it that.
Okay, that's fair.
And I do think there's actually legit some cool stuff in that movie.
All right. I don't know. I
Like
can
in a passive, like roller coaster ride, amusement park ride, fun way. There's like it's a good movie you can put on in the background while you're reading Twitter or whatever.
and not giving a shit about it. Yeah. So I would say this overall experience from all three combined, I'm going to give it a 5. Overall out of 10, 5 out of 10. If I combine all the scores and do my little calculations, it averages out to be about a 5.
Beep, beep, boo, boo, blah.
Yeah, but
I would say my overall would probably be like a 6.5. I think they're better than most people are going to give them credit for. I don't think they're nearly as bad as people say.
I think there's just too much criticism that can be made about the plot, the story, the narrative.
Oh, you can nitpick the shit out of these movies.
It's just
they just fall apart. They will fall apart.
If it's a great trilogy like Lord of the Rings, it's harder to nitpick. It's harder to nitpick those things because you just go, these are better made movies.
Well, because you just enjoyed the overall experience more, so you're going to notice its deficiencies less.
Yeah, you're just like, okay, I can forgive these things, but it's also coming from a pre-worked, it already has its world built. Like, Peter Jackson really just had to go in.
Peter Jackson really wanted to make those movies.
Right, exactly.
And you could see that on screen. There's this passion.
There's definitely a real passion there. So, I guess that's kind of the conclusion to this episode 1 through 3 review.
Yeah. So. Well, at the end here on the tail end, do you want to say anything about The Irishman?
Well, we can do another one. I don't care. We can do that one later. I would say The Irishman is a 8.5 or 9 for me. I think it's awesome. It's a different movie than his previous mob movies. It's a little bit different. It's more of a human piece. So, human interest, not human interest, a human passion. I don't know, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like a human...
It's got more pathos. They're more like regular, like actual
people.
Like, he's not lionizing them.
Yeah, like there's nothing.
There's something attractive about the bad guys in Goodfellas and Casino.
You love Joe Pesci, and he was great in this. I actually.
And this one,
it's fantastic.
Yeah, everybody's good.
And the CGI de-aging stuff. Sorry,
I thought it worked more than it didn't. But
yeah,
you cannot de-age physicality though.
No, you can't. Nope.
They always look like old men.
Okay, and it's something that you can. I forgive them for because they're old men, and it's fine. The acting is fantastic in it. So
yeah, and I would agree. I would say I'd give it an 8. That's what I would give it.
Yeah, like 8.59, like somewhere in there for me. Like it's. I can watch that movie again. It might be a couple months before I hop back in that box, but.
It stuck with me for a while, but it wasn't the overall experience that stuck with me. It was like individual scenes. Like I wanted to go back and watch like particular scenes again.
Yeah, that's the scenes. There's some really awesome scenes in that movie.
Yeah, like the scene with Al Pacino when he's like trying to get the after he gets out of jail and he's trying to get the endorsement from the Italian dude who shows up in the shorts.
Oh yeah.
That's a great scene. It's fantastic.
You're 15 minutes late. Traffic. I give you 10 minutes for traffic or whatever.
Yeah, that whole exchange, which apparently a lot of that was improv.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of the movie was improv from with Al Pacino anyway, because Al Pacino doesn't give a fuck apparently.
Well, no, they just like to do that. That's a Martin Scorsese thing too. He likes his actors. He likes people to play.
It's good. It's great. It was great.
You kind of go in, you get the script, you get what's scripted, and then you fuck around for 6 hours.
Hell yeah. No, that's great.
Solidarity!
Hey, want our trucks to turn on? Like, I just love that whole scene. But yeah, so that's good. If you guys want to check out The Irishman, let us know if you guys think we should do a review for that, which we probably will end up doing. Might be after the holiday season, might be during. We don't know.
Yeah, I figured we just drop a little taste here because I don't know if we'll actually get around to it.
Yeah, we might not, but we got a lot of Star Wars to watch.
Yeah, we were supposed to do it last week, but we just got caught up with Thanksgiving and shit.
Yeah, it's the holidays, dude. We were supposed to do it. I forgot. But okay. Well, that's it for me. Shaun, you want to walk us out?
All right, thanks for listening to Zoobox Goes to the Movies, everybody. This has been our first episode in a 4-episode adventure. Much like Star Wars itself. Much like, we're going to be episodic. This is serialized. Yeah, we're going to go down all the Star Wars movies, but you've listened to the first episode. We've covered the prequel trilogy. We had such a good time, laughs and gaffs all around. And if you'd like to, if you got any opinions about it yourself, you can leave us a message on Facebook or on YouTube. This is actually probably be uploaded to the podcast feed as well, because people are going to be searching out Star Wars stuff in December. So, might as well throw it up there. Try to get some people to be like, oh, they talk about Star Wars? And then they're going to listen to the regular show and be mortified.
Mortified. Unlimited power!
Yeah, my favorite line from the prequels is similar to that one, but it's when Anakin and Obi-Wan are their final moments.
You underestimate my power.
It's just like, God, give the guy a second take.
Yeah. Underestimate my power.
You underestimate my power. But anyways, all right, everybody, I'm Shaun.
It's Dan.
And thanks for listening, and we will see you on the other side.
Yee-yee!
A few days before we need to buy tickets, we can go look to see what seats are available. And if there's no good seats, I'm not going to get stuck in the front row for 2.5 hours.
Now you're just being picky, dude.
No way, dude. I can't do that.
It's just why. You just do it. Just sit there and watch it.
Dude, in the front row, do you know how obnoxious it is watching movies in the front row?
Let's try. Yeah. Yeah. No, actually, I've honestly never sat up there. But if
Sarah and I went to go see the Transformers animated movie. They put it back in theaters for a special 25th anniversary thing.
Yeah, was it
and packed? We bought tickets last minute, and we were really close to the fucking front of the screen, and it was awful because the screen's so fucking big, and you can't
IMAX.
Well, you can't. No, I mean you're only 10 feet from the fucking screen, and you're trying to look up. It's just.
Oh yeah.
I'd like to avoid that if possible, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, there'll probably be a cam we can all watch together.